good to see all of you. I actually just traveled out from Hong Kong probably about 48 hours ago. So if you guys have been looking at CNN, you know change is in the air. I just wanted to say that also applies, I feel, to the landscape of filmmaking in Hollywood. Change is in the air. It feels like every meeting I have with studios, with production companies that have taken place in the last 6 to 12 months, you know, everyone really has a strong push, a strong mandate to be doing films with China. I say this because Green Dragons was a really difficult film to actually get financed. It's an all-Asian cast. There isn't an obvious A-list star driving the financing packaging for this film. So, but my hope is that what we went through for the last 6 years to get this film made is not nearly as difficult as what some of you out there will be facing in trying to mount your projects. I really challenge everyone here who's a writer, painter, photographer, filmmaker. I just feel like now is just an incredibly rich time to be making Asian-themed films. That's just based on my own experience. You know, there's 5% of this population in America is Asian American. It's almost 15 million people, but there's almost nothing in mass media, in major mainstream movies that really, you know, are about our Asian experience. So, you know, if it's not now, when? If it's not us, then who? Who's going to make these stories? So I really challenge all of you, find the inspiration, bring the fire, and make your projects. Do it now. That's it. That's all I want to say, and thank you for coming out and supporting.
I want to thank everyone for coming. We'll talk more right after the screening.
So we actually have a few of our cast here today, and they've traveled from New York, from Culver City, from places near and far. So I'd like to ask them to come up and join us, because this is also so much about them. So we have Leonard Wu. Mr. Yuan.
Good job.
Celia Au. Carl Lee. Oh, Carl's in the restroom. Who else is missing? Joe May, where are you? Come on down. You're part of this too. Linda Wang, are you here? Linda, did you split? Carl, come on up here, buddy. Who else are we missing? So Carl Lee, who played Chicken Wing. You are so in the movie. Joe May, who was the girlfriend of the drug dealer who got wasted in the opening montage. Yeah, give it up for Joe May.
Yeah, so we just want to ask you a few questions. I know we want to kind of get this moving so that we can have some time to get some audience questions. My first question, though, Andrew, so this film started off from a 1992 New Yorker article, I believe, and written by, I think a guy was like a Hong Kong movie nut too. But what was the process of when you got this article? Can you just talk a little bit about the development of adapting the article into the screenplay?
Sure. So Andrew Loo and I, we were sent this article from a pair of producers in New York back in 2008. It was written by a gentleman named Frederick Dannon, and he does these really, he's an investigative reporter, and he had written this article, and I think it was commissioned by Tina Brown over at Vanity Fair, and it was right about the time when she made her move from Vanity Fair to The New Yorker. And what Fred told me is this is the one and only piece that she brought with her to The New Yorker. It was one of the first pieces that she released when she was at her new job. So the article came in, and the guys asked us if we saw a movie in it and if we thought it could be made into a film. And when you read these articles in Vanity Fair and the New Yorker, they're just so dense. It's like 25 pages of so much information and just outrageous characters and the things that they did. And so clearly there was a movie, there's probably 10 movies in there. So that was really the task, was making choices. We made a promise to Fred to maintain a certain truthfulness to the story, to the world, to the characters, but very well, in full acknowledgement that we would have to make a few creative choices to conform it to 90 minutes. So that was the process.
What year was this that you got the article?
2008.
Okay. And then you co-wrote this as well with Michael?
Right, so Michael, we started the process after we had the article, and it took us probably 6 months to go through a lot of reading samples, and we chose Michael because he was based out in New York, and he just had a real gritty kind of urban feel to his writing. So yeah, we chose Michael, and he came up with the first draft.
This question's for the actors. I mean, obviously, going into casting, Asian American roles are pretty few and far between. So could you guys each just go through a little bit about how you heard about the film and what the casting process was like?
For me, it started in, was it December 2012? And I think everybody was, in LA, was putting themselves on tapes because Lou and Lau were casting out of New York at that time. And so I put myself on tape, and then I ended up meeting Lou and Lau. They came out to LA to see people. And in early 2013, I met with them, and we hit it off, got cast from that, and then...
Well, there was a period when we didn't sort of stay in touch for a while.
Yeah. That's another story, and it just kind of snowballed from there, and then I just started prepping for the role, and then saw these guys. I'm not sure what happened behind the scenes, but it took longer than I expected, probably funding or whatnot. And so I didn't see these guys again until June.
I was already in New York doing the series, so I met Lou in New York. And when I got the script, I just loved it. But when we met, Andrew was just like, "How old are you?" So it was, all the parts were a little younger, but knew it was a long shot. Remember that?
So embarrassing.
I'm from New York, so I auditioned for the project in November of 2012. Yeah, and then it took a couple of months, and I think I got cast April or May of 2014. I mean, 13. Oops. Yeah.
Yeah, I also did an audition tape, and that was probably in December. And I mean, they started filming in April. I hadn't heard from them, so I didn't expect anything. And this is an interesting story because I actually went to, I was working on something, and a friend was like, "Hey, they're doing a casting for Revenge of the Green Dragons." I was like, "Oh yeah, I already sent a tape for that." And they were already, I was like, "Oh, they're already starting to film, so they're looking for background people." So it was actually a background casting, and they were like, "But the director's gonna be there." I was like, "All right, I'll check it out." And I went there. I took out my cell phone. I said, "Did you see this audition?" They're like, "I don't know." And so I was like, I give them my headshot, and they're like, "Oh, you're an actor." And I got a call in 3 days, and I came back for a whole series of auditions, and filmed a couple weeks after that.
I actually met Lou when you were still in pre-production, and one of your first visits to New York, and we had lunch just to talk about what casting might be like in New York. And I didn't know when you started casting because I just got called in to meet with Lau suddenly. I didn't even know that was happening. And they were like, "Here, you can get shot in the movie." I'm like, "Great."
I totally want to say something about the audition process, though. It's so interesting, Hong Kong style auditioning. They are very, very hands-on. I'd never seen anything like it in my entire life. You walk in, okay, we're working with somebody across the table, but they're like, "No, grab him." I was like, "Okay." And we'd be grabbing him, and he'd be like, "Direct him." Okay, and then you cut off his finger, and then you take out a gun, and you shoot him in the head. So I was doing my lines, I was doing, and they're directing me as I was doing it, and they're like, "You're really getting there physical." And I had never done anything like that before in an audition room before, so I thought that was really different. It was great though. It was fun.
Okay, but you have to give a little context to that process, right? So how many of you in the audience are actors? Raise your hand. Any? Okay.
You never touched anybody in the audition room.
So here's the thing that I discovered during our process is that, at least in North America, if you're looking for Asian American actors, there's not a large body of work that you can sort of refer to. People don't have reels with dramatic performances with, usually it's, if you're a male actor and you're Asian, you're kind of the comedic relief side guy, right? You're Arnold from Happy Days, right? And if you're the female, then usually you're the sort of exotic, lovely, the girlfriend, right? So, we had obviously some dramatic roles, and so the only way we could get to a point where we could say, yeah, this is actually someone who can knock this out of the ballpark, was to bring everybody in and actually do these scenes, because they're just, you guys can talk about the availability of roles or the lack of availability of roles, but that was a real challenge for us, was actually getting to a point where we thought, yeah, these guys can actually pull this off, because it's
Actually, one of the stories, I don't think I've ever told Lou this, but so I flew in basically for like a final callback the week before shooting started, so it was like after Memorial Day weekend. And one of the things that happened was we were going through scenes, but the guy who played Blue Hair, the one I tortured, cut off his finger, shoot him in the head, he was going in there for a fitting, so Lou and Lau were like, oh, do you mind running that scene and doing that, let's see what you can do. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. Well, up until this point, Lou was like, Leonard, we really like you, but we think you're too nice and too well adjusted. And yeah, so I was like, I'm not gonna take anything away from that, that's cool, but I chose something else. And what had happened was, Blue Hair is like, Richard, he's like a real gangster. He's done time and nicest guy, but a lot of these people that we got for the film, were from the streets, and Richard was one of them. And so there wasn't this level of what we do in casting rooms that we're used to in LA. And what happened was, we're doing this pool hall scene, and I'm like, hey, Richard, you cool with if we go for it? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, cool, okay. And so they call action, and I go up to him, and he slams me. He just hits me as hard as he can. And so I was like, okay. And so my brain just turned off, and I turned 15 again. And I was just like, I'm going to kill this guy. And so we just grabbed each other, and we're going at it, and we probably would have kept going and tried to mess each other up until they called cut. But I mean, that's what we needed to see. I mean, that's what, for a lot of these roles, was kind of, it was really, really intensive. You had to be really in there. So.
Yeah, that was day one. It was intense. I have a bruise on my ass that goes from cheek to cheek from that day. I don't know who did it. After every single take, my shoes came off. Where are my shoes? Literally, serious. For real.
So that brings me to a little bit of in terms of on a set, my favorite line of the movie is when Leonard tells young Sonny and Steve, "We Chinese are the assholes of America." I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, what do you mean? And then I was like, oh, okay. But so I really want to know, in terms of, did you guys go off script a lot? Was there room for improv?
Yeah, we stuck pretty much to dialogue. Lou was very hands-on with us and working with the dialogue and stuff like that. So we were pretty on point with that. One of the beautiful things about shooting this film was that we had amazing cinematographers, and Lau and Lou were really cool with just kind of do whatever you want in terms of blocking. So for me, it was I felt it was necessary. I didn't know what I was going to do from take to take, depending on what I was feeling and how angry I was. And so, a lot of times I would change things from scene take one to take two. And I remember going up to the cameramen and be like, I'm sorry, I'm really changing the blocking a lot. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to find me. And they're just like, don't worry, we'll find you. We had amazing focus pullers, amazing cameramen. So they made our job really easy. It was like theater in the round. We just went in there and we just played. And I don't remember a lot, 80% of the time, I don't remember where the camera was. So that was my experience.
Yeah, same here. I ditto that. It was very comfortable for them, and they were really fast too, and knew what they wanted. And, we just played. So.
I got this one. Yeah, it's we shoot so fast. I remember day 2, was it when they called Wrapped after lunch? We all got out and were like, what is going on? There's a joke on us. And then they're like, no, you guys are Wrapped. We're like, wow, that's the fastest thing we have ever done. And working with them is so cool because they're like a family and everybody's so close to each other. And we're like, after each take, like the makeup people, the wardrobe people, directors, the whole crew is like, oh, let's all hang out. So it's like a good dynamic with the whole group.
For my character, it's not very defined in the script, really, even though he's a real person. But, you know, I mean, like, there isn't much in the script that says how he is, you know? And so I really kind of got to create him a bit. They kind of gave me that leeway. And so once I started behaving in a certain way, Lou was like, oh, okay, that's how you're going to play it? You got to play it like that through the whole film. So I had to really be really crazy. And so for me, there was a lot of kind of improv-y stuff, a lot of physical and verbal improv on my half, at least. It was really fun. Good.
Wait, did you go into the castings for Chicken Wing?
Not at first. At first, my first audition was for, you know the guy who walks in with the flowers and then Steven cuts his neck and he dies? That was the guy I was auditioning first. He walks in and he dies. That was first. But the thing is, though, I walked in with that script, and then they're like, you got the wrong script. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I just had my mom translate all this stuff into Chinese so I could learn it a day before. And so there were a couple other parts I had to go for after that, and I went over and over like 8 times, and I got Chicken Wing.
So, you know, I mean, this is obviously kind of a personal question, but can you just real quick, how good was it to be able to play a bad guy?
Awesome. It's like a dream come true. I mean, honestly, like playing this role is the most fun I've ever had in my entire life, playing a role, because I had so much freedom to do whatever the F I wanted. I really just kind of did whatever I wanted. So people were like, man, you get to do whatever you want. I gotta be depressed and sad about this. I gotta be angry about this. And I'm like, woohoo! You know, so I had so much fun.
You're a bad guy.
Oh, yeah. I think,
No, the first time we actually started talking about you and possibly playing Ah Chong, remember we were in some coffee shop
yeah.
on Montana,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
looked at
yeah.
you and I said, you're way too peaceful to do Ah Chong, man. I don't know how this is gonna work, you know. And you said, no, I'm from the ghetto in DC, and you know, if my mom didn't send me to prep school, I would have been just like these guys.
yeah. Well, a funny thing was growing up in DC was you weren't, obviously I wasn't in New York at the time, but growing up in DC, they had their own Green Dragons out there. We had our own gangs, and it was like, I mean, it's not something that as a youth you're proud of, like looking back, but in a way you were like, these guys are cool. They're kind of playing by their own rules. So we were hearing stuff coming out of New York, and these guys were just nuts, and there was a level of admiration for them in a way, a respect, you know, because they weren't playing by the rules, and you know, and here I was in school and, you know, listening to my parents, and not that I'm saying don't do that, but there was just, you know, you're totally caught up as a kid in that, it's kind of a moth to the flame. And so it was just kind of tapping into that for the villain. And yeah, it was a great time. Like I said, I got to just play around, do whatever I wanted. I remember talking to Justin. I mean, Justin and Kevin, they were tortured the whole time. I said, tell Justin, like, you gotta slow down, dude. You keep like living your character offset, you're gonna drop dead. 'Cause, no joke. Like by the end of the shoot, he looked terrible because he was really just internalizing it. And then we saw him like 2 months later. He went to Hawaii, came back, was like a completely unrecognizable. Just, you know, got it all off his back. But yeah, for me, I just got to play and, you know, have fun with the character. So yeah.
Alan, can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the project and, you know, where the project, or it's coming out theatrically this week, but so maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we come out theatrically this week. We're doing a platform, limited engagement release, New York, LA. Start there and then ideally grow. So, you know, we appreciate like any help in spreading the word, tweeting, like posting, whatever you guys do now. just to get the word out.
Is there a hashtag?
I really actually do not know how any of that works.
Hashtag Revenge of the Green Dragons are ROTGD. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, hashtag and spread the word.
Yeah, I'm all over that every single day. I just want to also say really quickly that there's somebody here told me to not tell you guys they're here, so I'm not going to tell you he's here. But I just want you to know he's here. Because I think, like, what the hell? Why isn't he up here? But I just want you guys to know. Someone's here who said they don't want you guys to know he's here. And I'm looking right at him, but that's okay. Go ahead. Continue. I don't want him to beat me up.
Okay. This may, all right. So my last question before we go to the audience. So it takes place between, 83 and 93. I guess it's for everyone. I love seeing those big brick cell phones with the antennas you gotta pull up and the period stuff and, obviously Kev Jumba's perm mullet. So can you guys go into a little bit of, did you have to do any research on this at all for that time period? Or were you an 80s kid?
There was a remarkable amount of research done on the part of Lou and Lau, like development, the production designers, like it was crazy.
You should tell them about Justin and his cell phone when he was going to toss it.
You should tell it.
Well, I wasn't there. I wasn't there, but I heard about it. The cell phone, you know how much it costs, right?
$1,000.
Yeah. So okay.
So there's a side to this story which is kind of embarrassing and it's sort of wasteful. So I feel kind of, embarrassed. I don't really want to share it, but okay. So there's a scene where Justin hops on the phone and he calls the cop and he says, "I can get you Paul Wong," right? And so Lau wanted him to look, I don't know, cool. So he said, "Look, after you say it, just take the phone and fucking throw it in the water and walk out." Right? And so Justin's like, "No, I can't do that. It's props. They're gonna get upset at me." And Lau's like, "No, fuck it. Do it. So we rolled the cameras and Justin threw it back there and then the prop guy came running up. "That's $1,000. That phone is $1,000. I was like, "Justin, you just bought a phone, brother." Yeah, that was expensive. And of course it didn't end up in the film. That's the worst. That's the worst part.
Yeah, there was a lot of attention to detail. Like you may not notice, but there's like over 160 VFX shots in the movie just to like make the cityscapes like what they're supposed to be, like adding towers, lowering towers, signage, stuff all over the place, just to try to keep the era as within the period as possible. But yeah, those guys were, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really sorry Linda Wang isn't here because she was a fundamental component to the research. Linda actually was best friends with the real Tina from the movie. They grew up together and Tina was living at Linda's house when she disappeared at the very end there. So Linda used to walk to school with Ah-Chung every morning and it was her research was just invaluable. So she was just here, so I'm sorry she can't share some of this with you guys.
Anyone else? Any 80s things that you guys loved?
I watch a lot of movies.
I researched the music of that time period a little bit. I was like little Bobby Brown, and so I had that running in my head while I was doing stuff. My Prerogative. You know that song?
All right, so we have some time left. Bobby Brown. So anyone raise your hand and we'll get to you. You in the front.
Should I just say it?
Yeah, if you can just yell.
Thanks all for being here, and I appreciate your opening remarks that were kind of a call to action to produce Asian American media. I was wondering how you think this film can influence national perceptions of Asian Americans, and especially with regards to class integration and gender.
Okay, who are you? First.
It's a plant.
Okay. Well, look, I just think this film has it's a particular kind of American story, and as we sort of take this film on the road, that is one of the comments that keeps coming our way. When we were in Toronto, Marty Scorsese came out to support the film. He was there for the premiere, and he took me aside and he said, "That is some crazy shit." Right? He said, "I was born in Flushing, and I had no idea that was going on." So here's a guy who's a filmmaker, and I would argue that he's pretty well informed about the New York lifestyle, and especially gangs in New York. I think he knows a bit about it. And he had never seen that story, so for him it was pretty powerful. We were just in Carmel, which is a completely different demographic than this room. But that was also what we took from that screening. It was again, a really, I think, different perspective of people who live in this country. It's our country too. And I think that was kind of what they took from having watched that film. It was just really another experience of what it means to be an American. So it's one step forward, 2 steps back. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight, but it needs to move forward. And so, again, all of you, it's on you. It's everyone in this room. You need to do your share.
Yeah, I see a hand in the back middle.
Yeah, this is a casting question. So, the detective guy at the end.
That's him.
Is he really important?
That's him. That's
I
him.
don't know. What did he contribute to the story?
That's him.
And why did you cast that guy of all people? This is for Lou.
Come on down. Come on down, Jin. Come on down. Well, he was the loudest guy in the room.
Jin! Everybody, Jin!
Good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm a fan.
I didn't even know this was happening. Thank you, sir, for the opportunity again. Hi, everybody. I'll stand like down here.
Yeah.
I wish I could have watched it with you guys, but yeah, last minute, and I know I had to come and see you guys at least and say hi to you guys. Thank you for supporting it. So, yeah. I have some anecdotes too if you want.
Yeah, send the mic down.
You wanna, I got three big ones. I don't even know where to start.
Well, I'll stand next to Chicken Wing. This project, I'm sure many of us will attest, was a life-changing experience, right, in some way. So for me, number one, let's start with the physical transformation. For this role, I lost 15 pounds. Woohoo!
Insanity.
How'd you know it was insanity?
We were doing it.
Oh yeah. So, insanity played a big part of it. If you don't know what insanity is, Shanti, right? 45 minutes a day? But that was only partially it. I mean, I remember vividly, 3 weeks before camera roll, Lou and Lao, well, Lao said it in Cantonese, hey, right? And so translation is 15 pounds, man. So it wasn't even like, hey, why don't you try to lose 15? It was 15 pounds. So I remember leaving the office, the casting office that day, definitely trembling, but also invigorated to try to hit that mark. If at least through that action I can show my commitment to the project, and so be it. So I pretty much starved myself for the next 3 weeks. I did Insanity twice a day, so it was borderline unhealthy, but lo and behold, 3 weeks later, to the T, I went from 163 to 148, so that was life-changing. Number two, a fun fact as well, my dad was in this movie. Ah, you didn't know that, right? He was the guy passing out passports in the beginning. So thanks for letting us have that weird father-son bonding experience. The whole time we were filming and stuff, he was like, are you gonna arrest me? Because he doesn't have the script. So my dad's constantly asking me, so do you arrest me at all? Do I get to shoot you or anything? And I didn't want to spoil it for him, so I said, just, wait. So that was an interesting experience. And the third and final act of this whole thing is this film and the Green Dragon Project experience was very changing, very impactful for me, because this was the first project that I was a part of that made me question if I even have what it takes, or if I even want to be an actor. And what I mean by that is, so I mean, not to go into my IMDb, but I mean, it's not like there's a lot of entries. But I would say this is, including the few projects that I did in Hong Kong, this is probably like maybe the 6th or so film project. So I say that mainly to say this is the first one where one day I'm leaving the set, and I remember driving from the set back home on the BQE the whole time. I was just talking to myself. I didn't even have any music on. I was just like, what the did you get yourself into, Jin? Just questioning if I even had if I had what it takes, and as well, if it's something I was even really passionate about, that I thought I was all along. Reason being, one of the gentlemen standing further down there, amazing, kind of mentor, counsel, guidance in this whole process for me personally, Mr. Andrew Loo. On the day, if you remember, there was one scene that it's me and Mr. Leota, right, another veteran, and I was already like, oh snap, I got a scene with Leota today. There's the one scene where me and him are on the bench, and I'm like, there's all type of dialects. There's Mandarin, there's Shanghainese, there's Taiwanese. You're not even listening to me. So that scene, to me, was like, in my little small mind, the apex of my acting career thus far, right? So my point is, prior to that scene, Mr. Loo is like, hey, I gotta speak to you for about a couple minutes, Jin. Pulls me out of my trailer. I'm sure he remembers it too. And I say this lovingly and so thankful that that encounter happened. Pulls me to the side. This is like maybe my 4th day of filming, right? So I'll summarize his whole kind of spiel. In short, he was like, you're screwing this movie up. Yeah. And the longer form of that is, so I've been chatting with the editor, we're watching some of the dailies. She's telling me everybody's kind of coming together, the characters are really starting to flush out, with the exception of one guy. It's you. Killed me, honestly. So this is where the comedic stuff kind of goes aside, because literally that moment, I didn't know what to balance out first. The fact that when this conversation ends, it's, all right, we need Jin on set for Jin and Leota. I didn't know if I should like continue focusing on that. Should I process what he was saying there? But all in all, the good news of this whole thing is that, I managed to kind of truck through it, and not only did I come out of that, that question of, do you really like this, or do you have what it takes? So I did come out of it, honestly, with a very definitive clarity, and that is, man, my passion and admiration and kind of respect for the craft definitely went to a new level via this experience. And I think the main thing is just realizing how much honing I have to do and how much learning I have to do. And sometimes it has to start in a very real place like that. Just someone being really blunt and transparent and straightforward. And lovingly, though. Yeah, so thank you, Lou. For real. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
See, the way your eyes glazed over that day, as I remember it, I didn't think you were listening to what I was saying. So I'm glad that you.
It was my first time kind of being in a situation where, I did get feedback that was so real time and so straightforward. So I guess prior to that, either the directors were being really, the directors and producers were being very considerate. I was just killing every role. I mean, never mind, forget it. Thank you, though. Thank all of you.
Yeah, we can just do our own Q&A right now. I'm sorry, we only have like a time for about one more question. So, guy in the front.
Great job, guys. I think it's very commendable. You guys did a great job. It's important that Asians have a film like this. The Italians, they have their gangster films. They have their slice of the American pie. We don't have much, American pie-wise. I grew up during the era, New York, Boston. Chicken Wing, great last-minute casting. I felt that he was.
Thank you.
My question is how did you handle, what was the most challenging part of doing a period piece like this on a low budget in New York City, the most expensive place to shoot?
Well, I think one of the hardest parts was dealing with the Bond company. I mean, film finances, to be quite honest, they were awful. But, they basically were the reason why we kind of went dark for about 3 months. So there was a real challenge, I think, sort of making the money stretch. New York is a union town, and it brings its own sort of requirements. So it was a real we knew how we wanted to shoot this. We knew the sort of pace, how we needed to sort of really not use lights or dollies or anything, just to sort of make this work, and that's kind of the approach we took. So I think the hardest part was just philosophically laying it on the table and getting everybody to buy into how we were going to shoot this film. It was from the Teamsters to, all the camera brothers to even all the wardrobe and hair, makeup.
Did you
Everyone.
find your vision scaling down, like because of the lack of being able to show the environment?
Sure, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, we really want to thank you guys for coming, and we want to thank all the crew here. I'd be remiss to say that, we at Visual Communications are really excited because it's really come full circle. We had some of the cast and crew come to our conference for creative content last year in October before the movie was done. So it's really exciting for us, and we hope you stick around and listen to our other programs that we have coming up. And finally, there's going to be an after party.
Yeah, so this is kind of real casual and ad hoc, but we're going someplace.
Peking Tavern, 806 South Spring. So 8th and Spring.
So if you guys aren't running back to catch the NFL game or whatever, come join us, have a beer, say hi.
And can I add on to the newsletter, the bulletin? Detective Tang is dropping an album on Tuesday. It's a deeper look into his world. I mean, what made him kind of cross over to the dark side in the end, as you can see. So it's on iTunes.
I think we're going to return to our regular programming here.
So new album on Tuesday, and I love acting, but in my heart is definitely music. Some of you guys might know. I've been rapping for like 12 years now, Jin! Yeah, my name is Jin, so I go by Jin. So, thanks.
So Jin's got a new album Tuesday. Friday, we come out theatrically. We'll be at the North Hollywood Lemley. So please spread the word, tweet, post, share, whatever. And in general for us, it's not so much about making money theatrically or, obviously it's a limited engagement as much as we want to spread the word, largely for the purpose of showing that there is an audience for this kind of film. We want to show that, these kind of characters, like this kind of story, can find an audience, and, which is largely undertaken in this.
Yeah, please tell your friends, relatives, people you don't like even, just send them to the theater.
Especially people you don't like.
Have them buy a ticket, that'd be awesome. Where is it playing in New York? It's also opening Friday, the 24th.
Second Ave. No?
Greenwich.
There's this thing called Google. Just type in Revenge of the Green Dragons.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.